Yo, what's happening everybody? My name is Cody Vondell. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're gonna break down how to design year 2000 Gen X Soft Club style graphics. If you're not familiar with this term, it was coined by Evan Collins and Froyo Tam at Kari. They research and archive all kinds of various marketing trends from the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Gen X Soft Club refers to the design style that was very prominent from the late 90s to the early 2000s. It's notable for its use of text and vector graphics, composited over soft, blurred images. Movement is often conveyed in still images using motion blur and liminal space. The style can be versatile, ranging from moody and artsy to friendly and corporate. One of my favorite pieces of this style is David Carson's work for 9 Inch Nails' The Fragile in 1999. Several years later, these designs were somehow repurposed for McDonald's in the mid-2000s. And as funny as this accident is, it really shows the range and versatility of this style. A great example of a modern artist using this style would be Ghost Snacks. Absolutely superb work. It looks straight out of the era that it is going for. It's amazing. So before we get started, I just wanted to say thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing to my videos. It means so much. I recently created a free vector template that you can use, over 75 icons. You can download these from my website and use them in all your graphics. And if you're working along with me on screen, feel free to hop on our Discord. We just hit 130 people on our server. We're sharing tips and tricks, works in progress. And let's take a second really quick and check out some of the stuff that people are working on over on my Discord. Everything here is looking phenomenal. Thank you all so much for your support and for submitting your work. I love showing this stuff off. Everybody is over there having a great time, so please hop on our Discord and share what you're working on. If you want to support my channel, you can head over to Etsy and pick up some cool holographic stickers. And if you like all of my intro, outro, background music, I create it all. So if you want to support that, check me out on Spotify or your favorite streaming service. And you can also find me on SoundCloud or Bandcamp. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff, at Cody Vondell. Feel free to tag me in the work that you're creating. And let's get this thing started. So we're going to start out in Illustrator and we are going to move over into Photoshop. The first thing that we're going to do though is we are going to recreate this vector shape that I created using our pen tool. Really simple. Then we're going to round out the corners and bring it over to Photoshop to add all the texture and mix it with photography and get the real cool finished design that we want. Multiple steps, but they're all pretty simple, so we're just going to be moving right on through it. So right now we're just kind of rebuilding that vector shape and just using our pen tool. We're pretty much going to be using the shape over and over in Photoshop. So we'll be making copies of it. We'll turn our outlines on and our like fill opacity down. So we'll have like a version of it that is filled in, and we'll have a version of it that's a little bit, just the outlines to kind of have repeating shapes, but varying ways of how it's presented. So right now we've turned our outline off and we are filling it with color, and we've rounded out those corners. So this is what we want exactly. We're going to go ahead and create another version with outlines on and the fill off. So now we have 2 versions of this shape, and this is what we'll be using in Photoshop. So as you can see, we have a version that I already created and a brand new one. This photo I took in Chesapeake. There's an underwater bridge that I was in 2008, and I thought this was a cool looking photo. It had that David Carson style. I figured I'd just take it, and here we are all these years later. I found it, dug it up out of a hard drive, and was like, you know what? I could actually put this to good use. So as you can tell, it's incredibly pixelated. It was taken on not even a DSLR. It was like some type of digital camera that I had in the 2000s. And so what we've done is we've scaled it up, and we're going to add some blur on it because that's a very prominent thing in the style that we're working with. But even more importantly, that blur is going to help kind of hide some of the crazy pixels because this is a really old photograph. So we are turning on our Gaussian blur. I think somewhere around 6 ought to work. Something like that. As you can see, like the pixels are horrible on this thing, so it's very low resolution. So blowing it up, adding the blur to it, it's really going to help it just soften it because, you know, Gen X Soft Club. So yeah, now we are looking pretty much going to pull a few like ideas out of the previous design that I did. I'm pretty much just recreating something I already did. So as you can see, this is the version that I created previously, and this is what we're doing right now. We're just recreating. So I'm making sure that the blur looks the same on both of them. I want it to look as much like the original as possible, but we will take some liberties and kind of, you know, change it a bit. But we are definitely going to stick in the design right there. That is what we're going for. So first thing we'll do is we will go ahead and type out our word. It's Fathom. That was an album I released a few years ago. The word sounds cool and it works for what we're doing. That font we're using is actually the font that David Carson used for Nine Inch Nails, is the Fragile. If you can't tell, I'm a huge fan of David Carson and Nine Inch Nails. I got into them all the way back probably around 2002, a few years after the Fragile came out, when I was like a freshman in high school, and got obsessed with all that kind of stuff. I was listening to all that big beat stuff, but this kind of got me more into the industrial kind of thing. So yeah, this is a really fun era and I love this style. So it felt like something that we just needed to do. So what we're doing is we're taking that vector shape from Illustrator, we're dropping it in Photoshop, and we're playing with some of the layer styles. It was a black object, we're turning it white, we're turning the stroke on, that kind of stuff. So you got it feeling pretty comfortable right there. I like that overall. So we've made a copy of that and we've turned the opacity all the way down to fill opacity, and outlines are on. So we're going to try to recreate that, but make it slightly different. We're gonna make this a little smaller, and then to kind of, I like these because they almost feel like wires or circuit boards or something like that. So it feels very evocative of that era. Make it a little smaller there. The cool thing is that we can adjust the size of these shapes and the outline will stay the same because we have that on our layer style. And let's see, this is a little busy, but that's because we have extra layers turned on that we had turned off when we exported this. But you can already see what we were doing here. We have like a version that's very prominent and bold, and then we've copied it and made it more opaque and given a Gaussian blur, so it kind of, you're seeing copies of the same thing, but it's presented in different ways. So just a lot of back and forth, kind of looking at what we did on that last design and trying to create something that looks almost identical, but slightly different. So it is not a exact copy. So really, it's just about getting things comfortable, getting things where they feel right. If we have that word Fathom right there, it just feels right to have a couple of these kind of lines. Like I said, they kind of feel like circuit boards or something like that, something digital. I like it. I like the way that they're kind of intertwining right there. So we're gonna try to keep that. And we'll add one more. Just trying to make it comfortable, you know? And if you're creating something like this, you know, it's really, I mean, so much of this is just up to how you feel things work, you know? Obviously, we're gonna try to follow rules of design, but when it comes to these little kinds of details, you know, it's just about filling it out and making sure things feel the way you want them to. So we're going ahead and making a few more copies of this thing. And we're just using free transform so we can kind of rotate it around and get the different kind of things we want. I think we'll transform it one more way. We'll flip it around and about right there. I'm thinking that feels pretty comfortable. You get a little bit of that curve. That's maybe too much. Something around right there. Yeah, I'm really liking that. Oops. We'll actually bring this layer up so we don't have to worry about that. We'll just bring it right over. Perfect. That is exactly what I want. Just maybe a little bit less of the curve. Okay, that looks good. So the next thing we'll do is we'll go to my free assets pack, which is available on my website, and you can download it and use it in all of your own designs. We're gonna grab a little button out of there and we're gonna just paste it right in here. And already we're starting to get, you know, the vector shapes, the photography, the text, it's all working together to kind of create that Gen X Soft Club aesthetic. Obviously, we're not quite there yet, but it is definitely moving in the right direction. So once again, playing with the stroke. On this one, we're just kind of bringing it down a little bit. That looks cool. And now we are naming all of our different layers so that we don't get too confused. And let's see what we can do with these dots. So one thing that we can do is we'll probably have a few different like copies of this layer, so you know we can do some different things with it. Get those evenly spaced, and we'll merge those layers. kind of have them kind of hanging off the edge here. Once again, this is about just trying to find that comfortable place. I think something around there works for me. And we've made one more copy. What we're going to actually do is we're going to copy a little piece of the photograph. That way it kind of looks like there are holes in the actual vector layer, even though they're not. We're kind of cheating, but it's okay. That looks cool. So yeah, already taking shape. This is along the lines of how we wanted it. We're going to play with the kerning maybe a little bit on this font. The kerning on this definitely came out looking strange. I think this was somebody recreated the font for the Fragile. This wasn't actually David Carson's design. So it's, I guess whoever did it, the kerning wasn't exactly right. So we're just playing with that just a little bit. And then we'll be turning on our, or we'll actually be using that same Gaussian blur for the text itself. So we'll copy that text and we'll convert it to, well, not convert to outlines, that is in Illustrator, but we will rasterize it. And maybe make it a little bit bigger before we do all that. Just a little bit bigger. That way the those lines kind of flow through the text in a cool way. I like that, kind of like the wrapping around the lettering. And yeah, we're just gonna kind of blur out that word so you can definitely tell it says Fathom, but it's just got so much texture to it that blur really adds to the Gen X Soft Club style. Already looking really good. Not too much left that we need to worry about on this. Show all of our effects and just play a little bit maybe with like the outer glow, just to add a little bit more blur on that lettering. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty cool. Something around there. I think that'll work. I'm very comfortable with that. And back to our original, we're just going to make a few more comparisons. This is starting to look really good. We'll paste these in one more time, see if there's anything else cool that we can do with them. We'll turn the opacity down, change the color. Goes back there somewhere. Oops. These layers. Yeah, there we go. Big dots. Cool, so this is really starting to shape up and turn into something that I'm feeling comfortable about. We'll maybe put those up there. That looks kind of cool. Good use of space. A little bit different than the first design, but obviously still in the same vein. Cool, and maybe we can go ahead and start adding some of those textures. So what we'll do is we'll copy all of our layers and we'll merge, well, we'll copy them and then we'll merge all those copies and we'll make copies of those copies. And with each of those, the first one we'll add noise and we'll turn it down to like 9%. The second one we're going to add a color halftone at like 4, max radius of 4, and we'll turn the opacity on that down just a little bit so you can see how cool that is, but a little strong, a little too strong. So yeah, I'll turn the opacity down maybe to like 25, 35, something like that, 30, somewhere in there. And that is starting to look really cool. I think that might be a finished product. It's got all the elements that we used in the first one. We've got the blur, the vector graphics. Sorry, there's my cat. And yeah, looking really cool. So we're gonna go ahead and save this as a JPEG, and our final step will be using this JPEG to just kind of create a like actual printed poster, like a mock-up kind of thing. So we're gonna bring this into Photoshop, and we are going to make the artboard just a little bit bigger, or canvas size. Artboard's Illustrator, we're in Photoshop. And then what we'll do here is just kind of add a rectangle tool for a white background, push that to the back, and then we are going to put a little drop shadow on this, just a little one. That's a whole lot where we're starting. So we're gonna bring that distance down and the size down. So it's just, you know, just a little bit of drop shadow. And that's looking about right. And then our finishing step on this is we're just gonna copy this and tilt it a little bit so it looks like we have you know, multiple copies of this laying there. Boom, we've got a printed mock-up kind of look. So that is looking really cool. Very excited about that. It screams 9 Inch Nails, The Fragile, David Carson, Gen X Soft Club. And we did it in, you know, 15 minutes, not long at all. We talked about the style, and then we made it happen. So there it is. Thank you all so much for tuning in, having a blast designing this stuff, and for working with you guys on Discord and in the comments here on YouTube. I greatly appreciate your interaction. Once again, want to support my channel, head over to my Etsy or head over to Spotify, check out my music, be a part of our Discord. I greatly appreciate you. Some other things we've been looking at lately. I recently did some album artwork for my friend Graz, new single Every Night. Did a flyer for drum and bass legend LTJ Bukem. Played a little show in the metaverse thanks to my friend Shark Anthony. Another Y2K free fonts for Y2K aesthetic logo video. We just popped that out. Also did a mascot for a client recently, so we're going to be doing another mascot breakdown. And yeah, everything's going really good. I greatly appreciate you guys. I will catch you on our next video. Thank you so much.